Spotify!
Depot. Devoid.
All right.
The recording is in progress, Ted. In spite of your best efforts, the recording is in progress.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes it's nice to watch a monkey dance.
It took so long that I grew a long white beard.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't that much of a beard the last time.
All right. So, I don't think we recorded at all during like the entire month of Halloween.
Yeah, we did. At least once.
Are you sure?
100%.
You're probably right.
Yep. Once.
Once.
Probably.
Yeah,
only.
probably once. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a busy time.
It's kind of a thing.
So what we have in store today, Ted, I have made you watch an erotic thriller
Sort of, maybe?
from 1993. Had you ever heard of Boxing Helena before?
No, I have not. And frankly, I might have been fine keeping it that way.
You would be justified in wishing that maybe your life had just never gone down this path.
Yeah.
That is understandable.
That being said, I appreciate it for what it is.
I saw this movie in the theater. I don't think that I have ever seen it again until watching it for this podcast. And I definitely appreciated it on some level this time more than I did upon my initial viewing. Which
I can understand that.
It was fraught with baggage at the time.
I also got to say, where did you find so much mistletoe?
It is harvest season.
Mistletoe harvest.
My studio is where we do the drying. And it's actually probably good that we got delayed by these last few days because it was so pungent in this room that I was not totally sure I was going to be down with hanging out in here for an hour or more. Because yeah, it was thick with quote mistletoe unquote. The devil weed, Ted. It's the moon cabbage.
I had no idea that mistletoe had so many names.
This movie.
Oh, hey, wait, hold on. Let me show you something really cool. If you really felt like it, you could be like, boom. Now I'm one of those ugly people who thinks that the background at my house is gross in my Zoom meetings for work.
Could you change yourself so that the background is Helena's bedroom where there's always a wind blowing from inside the house?
Naturally, there's this one that's the regular one, this one that is called Blur. Apparently, for some damn reason, why do I need to be in San Francisco?
Because you're gay!
This looks like your mistletoe.
That looks like you're in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
It does, and Auntie is not just a baby because you're not a baby ant unless you're a larva.
I get it! French class!
I thankfully never saw any sequels to that garbage film.
There's only 2, aren't there? And then, there's like a TV series of some kind that has.
There was a TV series, but I think that there were 3 sequels. However, the only thing that I remember about any of them was either you were working at a movie theater or it was when you were doing your secret writing reviews of things in Coos Bay, and you ended up getting a cardboard stand-up from Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and you cut out up.
We actually had, and I am sad to say that this photograph does not exist anywhere in my possession anymore. But when Honey, I Blew Up the Kid was playing in downtown Coos Bay at the Egyptian Theater, we took the word up off of the marquee and threw the letters into the bay. Connor was tall enough to get them. And we had a photograph. This is so dumb. We have a photograph of Connor standing naked in front of the marquee, holding the letters over his head before we went and threw them into the bay. And I had that photograph for many years, but somewhere along the line, it went away.
I was fully unaware of that, but I do remember in the basement at Papa's house when you were living in his old bedroom, you had the stand-up thing from it, and it was "Honey, I Blew the Kid." But
it seemed like a necessary adjustment.
Hey, it's pretty hilarious.
It was definitely 17-year-old humor.
Oh, yes. But hey, when you're 43, you can still have a good laugh.
I wish that I had that picture and that Connor was trying to run for public office.
You get him.
Yes, that. Oh, you can tell that the movie is not alluring when we immediately swerve really far from it.
Hey, you know what?
Okay, so a little bit of background. Boxing Helena is the first feature by writer-director Jennifer Chambers Lynch, daughter of David Lynch. And so this was a thing that had a lot of eyes on it when it was coming out. The movie itself was also largely overshadowed by a lot of real-world controversy that surrounded the movie, with people dropping out. Like, Madonna was originally attached to play the role of Helena. She ended up backing out, not with any ill will, but because Madonna would not have served the movie that well. It was too much like a Madonna role, and it would have been a Madonna movie. And I think she correctly...
And her acting ability is not very good.
Well, that notwithstanding, I think she correctly recognized that her attachment to it, especially at this moment in time, which is like shortly post Truth or Dare, right? It was like a year after that big sex book she had that came out. It was like it would have been a lot of baggage, and it would have been about that instead of the movie. And then Kim Basinger was attached to it, and then she demanded a lot of changes that they weren't willing to make, mostly, according to reports, mostly just to make Helena less of a bitch. And they weren't willing to make the changes that she wanted, and then she backed out, and then they sued her. And it was like a huge thing that kind of bankrupted Kim Basinger for a while. I think it was reduced on appeal, but it was still not great for her.
Yeah.
And then the movie came out and was hugely critically panned, and Jennifer Lynch did not direct anything for like 15 years.
Huh.
And I think that's unfortunate.
Well,
in retrospect, at least. At the time I was probably like, fuck her. I was wrong. That was shitty of me as a very young idiot.
It's a twisted movie that wasn't well executed, but it was at least entertaining, especially once you get through it and you look back, you're like, yeah, I don't exactly enjoy it, but It was worth watching.
Yeah, it has a number of problems. Like, I'm not saying that I have reframed my entire opinion of this movie and now it's great. I didn't just fully misunderstand it the first time through. There are a lot of problems. Most of the biggest problems with this movie, though, are less what I was reacting to the first time through and more problems that are really issues of maturity. There are a lot of sort of juvenile decisions and problems with pacing and stuff that just would have come from experience. With more experiences would have been a better movie. I'm sure that Jennifer Lynch herself, even with the exact same script, could make a much better, more successful movie with this material today than she did at the time. She was 19 when she wrote this, Ted, and she was like 24 when they filmed it. So she was like a baby
Yeah.
more or less. Like
Yeah.
this was juvenilia. No one should be judged by like a feature fucking film that they made right out of the gate at that age with, I obviously not no experience, but like this, like she did not have the capacity to do this justice. Not with the time that she had. That would have. She was a baby, Ted.
Yeah.
I judged her far too harshly, but this is also in many ways a bad movie.
Yeah. Yeah. All things correct.
Uh, okay, I guess we should probably summarize it. So Ted, why don't you tell everyone what this movie's about?
What do you call a man with no arms and no legs floating in a pool?
Bob. Hey
Yeah.
Ted, what do you call a man with no legs hanging on the wall?
Art. What do you call a man with no arms and no legs in front of your doorstep?
What are you saying, Ted?
Matt.
All right, that's enough.
Yeah.
You've taken this too far.
You actually could have gone with a different direction and said, what do you call a man with no arms and no legs that somebody's hanging on a clothesline?
Hanging on a what?
Clothesline.
On a clothesline.
Yes.
Clothesline.
Yes, yes, for drying your clothes. I learned many years ago, approximately at the age of 11, that Ted is also what you do when you dry clothes on a line.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Education, bitch.
I I'm gonna check your work on that,
You
but
better, because that's 32-year-old memory talking right there.
Interesting. You learn something new every day, even if what you learn turns out to be a lie.
Hey, I'm gonna Google this shit right now.
At least it would be new. Well, while you're doing that, uh, basic plot of this movie: boxing Helena. This is a movie about obsession, and Julian Sands, who is a big wuss, is also a wealthy surgeon, Dr. Nick Kavanaugh, who is moving into a huge family home. Is the house he grew up in. His mom recently died and left the house to him. He's
Matt,
moving in with his girlfriend.
calling myself out here. I fucked up. It's a
Oh,
term for
damn it.
spreading and turning hay to dry.
Spreading and turning hay.
Yeah, yeah. So hey,
Ted.
it's still Ted and it's still drying. So I got a bit of it right.
Oh, so basically it's about drying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Should have just tried harder at those jokes, man.
Yeah, that yeah, I'm just gonna remove this whole episode in editing.
All right, let's continue on. I'll quit interrupting.
I mean, someone's got to. Otherwise, we'll just end up talking about the movie. So, big loser, Dr. Nick Kavanaugh, is moving into his recently deceased mom's house with his girlfriend, Anne, and he should be happy, you'd think. But instead, he is pathetically obsessed with a woman named Helena, played by Sherilyn Fenn, known mostly at that time to viewers as Audrey Horne of Twin Peaks fame. Sherilyn Fenn is playing uh, a woman who basically every review of this movie characterizes as some variation of cold-hearted bitch. And I'll get into why I don't think that's fair. But for the purposes of this setup, that's kind of their dynamic. She is not nice to him, for good reason, probably. But basically, instead of being happy about his big awesome house and his devoted girlfriend, he is just fucking obsessed with Helena, a woman with whom he had one sexual encounter. This is how pathetic this man is.
I think to add to the whole pathetic thing, I think you might be slightly mistaken. I believe at one point when he's showing the house to somebody, they said, "Wow, this is your house?" And he said, "Oh no, actually my mother owns this. I think she's in a home.
No,
I don't think he actually even owns it."
she left it to him. She died right at the beginning. It's very
Oh,
it
okay.
if you were not paying attention to like basically it was during the opening credits that she dies and is boxed away.
Okay. Okay.
and, and yeah, so it's very quickly that's there are a lot of interesting pacing issues with this movie.
I mean, that
And
might be part of it, is they might have filmed it and actually had him say that well previously in the part that I didn't read thoroughly.
well, also vital information or important relationship developments get breezed through while far less important moments are lingered upon with absolutely no regard for the amount of screen time that they are occupying. So there's a lot of strange choices that are made in editing this movie together.
Like putting Chet in tight fake leather pants so you can unfortunately see the size of his bulge. It is,
I
oh,
think
it's so small.
I think that everyone knows that that was a great choice, and I'm sure that Bill Paxton was more than happy to do it. And yeah, this is I actually one of the things that I my memories of this movie were sort of dim. Uh, I remembered that look for Bill Paxton, but I had put him in the tree outside the window wearing that outfit in my head.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, this movie has I believe I mentioned that it plays out something like a Victoria's Secret commercial or an Enigma music video. And there
Fair.
are very powerful moments like that in this movie. Um, it's so weird. This is a movie about a man who is really obsessed with a woman, and so essentially he locks her away in his house and chops off her arms and legs and keeps her in a box. That's what this movie is about. That's like the
Yeah.
thumbnail sketch of this movie, which sounds shocking and horrifying, but plays out like a Victoria's Secret commercial, which is not what you would expect from the premise as read.
No, it's a
And
little scary.
yeah, and I went into this, you know, knowing that sort of thumbnail sketch description and the provenance of a relationship with David Lynch and the star power of Sherilyn Fenn, who I was strongly associating with David Lynch, and Julian Sands, who, of course, was the Warlock.
I recognized the Warlock and I recognized Bill Paxton. I didn't know where Helena's character was from, but she was definitely familiar.
It's yeah, I mean, if you're not like a, I mean, her career is not entirely tied to David Lynch, but that's where most of her stuff is sort of in and
Gotcha.
around that. So it would be entirely possible for you to just have really never encountered her otherwise.
Yeah. Well, that's not unreasonable in this
But no,
situation.
and she's I think she's really good in this movie, which is a very strange story and a really fucked up dynamic,
Yeah.
which we have to sort of do the big spoiler because it's impossible to talk about this movie rationally without getting into what actually happens in this movie. Um, because he
Absolutely nothing.
yeah, yes, he Helena gets he invites Helena to their housewarming party, and she leaves with another man, but leaves her purse behind with her address book. And in the machinations to get her over to his house to retrieve that book, they get into an argument, and she steps out into the street and is hit by a truck. And from that point on, things get weird. He brings her inside. He severs her legs. He's a surgeon. Um,
Yeah.
he takes it upon himself to provide all the necessary care that she requires. It's very weird. And then as their dynamic progresses, when she lashes out at him, he further controls the situation by removing her arms, and things get worse for her, and weirder for him, and ultimately Bill Paxton shows up and there's a big fight, and Julian Sands looks like he's gonna die, and then he wakes up in the hospital where everything is fine. Everything in the movie happened up to the point where she got hit by a car, and everything after that point was a dream. And
A fever dream for 6 hours.
yeah, and it's really hard to take anything seriously, which even that long ago in 1993 would give you essentially an entire movie and then say it was all a dream. Like that seems like such a cheat that
Yeah.
I just dismissed the whole fucking thing, really. Like
I think that they failed at the delivery of the end sequence. I
I
don't think
think
they
so
meant it to
too.
come across the way that it did. I think they thought that they were being smart. I think that they thought that they were doing something good, and they fucked it up.
And that's why I'm glad that I came back to this movie, because having seen it that one time before and knowing the facts of the matter, uh, it was actually watching it again with that knowledge was essential. And I will go on. I mean, I'm not saying that it's fixed now, but I will go on the record as saying that this choice was maybe not successful, but it was a valid choice that actually does, it changes what the movie is saying. And you understand so many things differently when you understand that everything that you are seeing is his fantasy of control. And it's impossible to know that up front. And I think that that is a problem. I believe that making that a fantasy is a valid choice, but I think that if you're going to do that, you have to give us a taste of it first. You have to give us another dream that we don't realize is a dream for a moment at least, and then
Yeah.
establish that this is a form that his obsession takes, because we understand him to be in the grip of obsession. So that's completely understandable. You just have to give us that information.
The most that we got in what turned out to be the finished bit of the movie, and I don't know if there's deleted scenes or anything that would explain any of it, but the closest we got to that was realizing that he's on antipsychotic medications of some kind that he's refused to take, and so he's not taking those any longer. But I don't know if we showed that before or after he has taken her address book and coerced her back into his home. But that's the closest we get from my understanding.
It really is, it is a movie that has a lot of interesting parts and didn't really know how to put them together to give the correct weight to essential storytelling elements. And that is really just, that's a function of youth and inexperience. And it's kind of a shame, because I think that there are some really fascinating pieces to this movie. But I was so fucking pissed off by it's all a dream the first time that I saw this in the theater, that I like just never bothered again. And
You know, one thing I've never bothered to do that I should have is look back to see what his actual end lines were right as the movie ended. I don't remember what it was. I was like, oh, fuck off. I don't care.
I don't remember exactly where it ended, but it was another thing that bothered me was like it after that he says something he has like another dream and has like a voiceover kind of in his head kind of thing that's like I'm still haunted by her, these by or by my love for her, something like that, those dreams. And it's like, okay, so let us know that you're haunted before so it doesn't feel like a cheat, because
Yeah.
I would be so on board, we don't have to figure out that it's a dream immediately. Like you can let that suspicion develop, but you have to establish the groundwork in advance, or it just feels like you're cheating by withholding vital information that we would need to understand the story, just like Scream 2.
Yes. There was only one thing that I found to be an actually fun cinematic uh, thing that they did in this whole damn movie was that he had that statue in his house of a torso.
Yes, the
And
Venus
then,
de Milo that they kept showing.
yeah, and after he hacks off her legs, she's got legs. And then after he hacks off her arms, she's got arms. And I was like, oh, this is funny.
Oh, and his final dream, we see it explode,
Yeah, yeah,
which is kind of dumb.
extremely.
It's yeah, I don't know. I actually find this movie to be pretty interesting, but it is so troublesome. And
Yep.
but I think once you know that he is controlling the entire situation like with his mind, then you start to understand everything in a completely different way. And that's why even like in this movie, which is about a man chopping off a woman's arms and legs and keeping her in a box, we never see any blood. And that's because that's not part of his fantasy. Like
Yeah, but
the
he's also so scared he can't even win his own fantasy.
he can't face anything. But that's a perfect example of it. Like we only join the story after anything gruesome has already happened in the past, and it's been cleaned up, and now she's beautiful again. And that's all we, because her beauty is her only attribute. So that's what we get to keep seeing is when she's beautiful again, at least in his estimation.
Yep.
And it's this. Would you be surprised to learn that a bunch of critics called Jennifer Chambers Lynch a misogynist for making this movie?
No, actually, that's a very unbelievable thing to do that.
I think that's such such an interesting response, and
Yeah.
probably even more dismissive of the work that she did than I was. Which again, I was wrong to do that. Um, but it is a movie that I feel like it would be fascinating to see. Like I said with Jennifer Chambers Lynch herself, but others, contemporary filmmakers, what they might do with this same material. Because I think that by making it explicitly about the male gaze and his fantasy of doing this to her, and then kind of almost having a redemptive moment of realizing like, oh wait, that would be fucked up if I did that. Uh, that's an interesting, it's an interesting approach to an idea that would otherwise just be like really gross torture porn, which is what I think like this the premise, the story was brought to her by some dude who was like, I kind of like I have this story that I want to tell, but I want a woman to write it because I don't want it to be this other thing, which is weird. Uh,
Yeah, it is.
but but anyway, it happened, and she initially was like, no, ew. And then it just kind of stuck in her head a little bit, and she thought about it and had like an idea, an approach that she was interested in. And I think that that's where it got interesting and also where it went wrong because she found a way to doing the dream ending. She finds a way to do what she needs to do, which is to reframe this premise in a way that makes it about something else. It kind of abstracts it, but the mechanism that she used I was too alienating to the audience, and there might have been a better way, and I don't know what that would have been, but
Well,
other
and carry on.
no, go ahead.
Uh, so talking about having more of a situation where we would understand that he is really fucked up and his he's got these dreams that are going on. We could potentially look at them failing to do that when they brought in the dead mom, the scene where he's like, his mom's like, well, you really fucked up this time, didn't you? So I mean, maybe they did at least sort of try, but it missed the mark by a fucking 1,000 yards, because it took until now for me to like even consider that.
there there are a lot of pieces in play that I think could have served the story better than they actually do in
Yeah.
this finished product. And part of that is his, I mean, obviously, even whether or not it is successful in conveying how it all works, the movie is definitely telling us that his relationship with his mother is a causal factor in what is happening now. And what is happening now is that he is rejecting a supportive and loving girlfriend and is obsessing over a woman who has explicitly pushed him away and has no further interest in him. And that is obviously quite unhealthy. And there's a problem there. But the and I'm not saying that the movie should tell us exactly how this happened and should give us a one-to-one chart of how these experiences in his past added up to his obsession with Helena, but it's it's giving us pieces that don't necessarily the they're pieces to the puzzle, but they don't really connect, and they leave you wanting more, and they make me feel like there probably was more.
I'm a bad little Autobot.
I understand. And now I'm a spaceman.
That's where are you supposed to be sitting?
I don't know. But I mean, if you look at it, it seems to think I've got more hair up here than it actually exists. There's always like this weird fuzzy business going
It's
on.
also like I can still see the actual wall between your head and your headphones.
Yeah, it's even better.
That's I'm not buying this illusion, Ted. I don't think you're in
Yeah.
space at all.
No, no.
Fucking liar.
Anyway, so you
Just
were
like Dr. Nick Kavanaugh.
he wasn't a liar. He was just trying to
He
love her.
he was I think he might have been a liar. He lied about whether or not Art Garfunkel was on the phone. How weird is it that his best friend was Art Garfunkel?
Yeah, that is kind of strange.
It was just strange that he was in this movie at all. Uh okay, so I feel like we're probably not going to be able to solve feminism during the course of this conversation. And this movie may not have contributed all that much to the important dialogue of male and female relationships, but it's a lot more interesting than I gave it credit for. It would also be really hard to like get someone to watch it now. You know what I mean? Like who's going
Yeah,
to like even people who are interested in sort of like the genre of the time period, people who are fans of like Fatal Attraction are not necessarily going to find a lot in this movie because it's doing something really quite different.
yeah, it is. It is. And I mean that brings us to the point here now that I have to ask you, Matt, what is this movie actually about?
I don't know if I can answer that yet. I feel like I definitely got closer to understanding what this movie is about. I mean, as I said at the beginning, and it's at the most basic level, this is a movie about obsession. But there's a lot of movies about obsession, including a movie called Obsession. But this movie is doing something different from other movies that are also about obsession and living in this same kind of erotic thriller zone. And I what this movie does that is so different from those is to frame the important action entirely within the mind of the party who is obsessed. And that is a really strange choice that doesn't really pay off, but might have. Like there is a version of this where that worked. And that is a pretty interesting thing, but there are a lot of missteps within this movie, and um and that really weird erotic enigma music video where he is fucking that chick while Helena watches through the crack in the door and is maybe seemingly like getting off on it. It's
She seemed to be.
there's a lot of stuff. Again, that is his fantasy. Like that is he I'm getting I've wandered very far from you asking me a question and me answering it. Uh but but this is part of what kept niggling at me with this movie. This is all how he imagines things could be, where he takes this woman who is the object of his obsession and who clearly despises him, and he taming of the shrews her in the most extreme way. And instead of her just becoming like an art object, she becomes like his maternal figure erotic teacher who instructs him in how to please a woman. And then he pleases a woman demonstratively for her. Like, this is what he imagines. This is his fantasy. Inside his fantasy, there is a fantasy where Helena has arms and legs and touches him and strokes him and teaches him how to touch a woman. But that's a fantasy within the fantasy, because in the fantasy, she's already had her arms and legs cut off.
Yep.
Also, his fantasy has a cutaway where Bill Paxton goes to the grocery store and talks to that guy who recognizes Helena's order, which is another strange thing for a dream sequence to have. And that brings me to another tangentially related thing, which I probably wasn't going to get to otherwise, because this movie is just fucked up. All those reviews that talk about what a bitch she is. And we do see a lot of, somewhat aggressive behavior from her. We never see Helena interacting with people who aren't trying to use her in some way. Like we don't really see neutral Helena or with her girlfriends Helena. Like we don't see anything about her. We don't know what she does for a living. There's like she has no known quantities outside of Julian Sands' eyes. But there is a moment where she's alone. And when I watched it this last time, like it seemed really important to me. And it actually is sort of important because it figures into the plot. But it's after she boots, leather pants. She calls the grocery store and she orders her whatever, her drink ingredients with the pomegranates. Um, she is really nice to the guy on the phone. What's his name? Sam, I think. The grocery guy. She calls him up. She like asks personal questions. She's friendly. Like she chats more than is necessary for the accomplishment of her goals. And she is kind to people in the service industry. And I'm like, that is a glimpse. That is like practically our only glimpse of who she is in real life when she's not engaged in these sort of elaborate sexual politics. And I don't think she's a bitch. I think that that's the real her. And I think that what we see is her. I mean, why would she not be a fucking bitch to Julian Sands, who kidnapped her and chopped off her fucking arms and legs? I would probably be a bitch too. In fact, honestly, it would take a lot less for me to be a bitch. But certainly, if you chopped off my arms and legs, I would not be like, can we have some Stockholm syndrome?
So that's what this movie is actually about.
Yes. That is what this movie is actually about. Ted, in 150,000 words or less, what did you think this movie was about?
You know what? I think that we've been talking about that all night, but the real question that is really, really coming to a head with me and is a very big part of this movie that is not actually in it. What the fuck did he do with her arms and legs?
I there's okay. Do you remember the scene where like he pulls out the gun from the dresser drawer and she's like, I just want like something of what I used to be. He goes out and pulls the gun. He's like, I could, I could kill you. I could kill me. When he goes over to the drawer, I just had this fantasy where he just goes over to the drawer and opens it and pulls her arms out and just like, and like pops them on like they're rubbery Frankenhooker arms.
Ah, that would have been good.
But yes, I definitely wondered that. And again, that's not part of his fantasy, so we
No,
never
he doesn't
get
want to talk about
we
that
never
part.
get to see that. Yeah. This movie has a really interesting point of view and stuff to say about what this obsessive person values and about like how people on the outside respond to that. I don't know. Like I don't think it's a good movie, but I think it is a flawed, interesting movie that was unfairly maligned. And it's a shame that the net result was that she didn't really direct anything else for a really long time, because it meant she didn't get a chance to mature at work, and that sucks because I think she really did have something to say and she was figuring out how to say it, but that act of figuring was very public and cost Kim Basinger millions of dollars, so people were like really scrutinizing the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's too bad because it shouldn't have been that kind of movie. It shouldn't have had that many eyes on it. It should
Yeah.
have starred Sherilyn Fenn. Like it should have been someone of that caliber from the beginning, someone who is very capable as an actor, um, who is very beautiful because you like have to be for this role to be believable, but who doesn't have that sort of recognition that Madonna or Kim Basinger had at the time.
And it was somebody's first work. I mean, quite frankly, it shouldn't have had those people potentially tied to it in the first place.
No, that's crazy, and I'm sure there's a million stories behind that I don't know, and it's just it's nuts. A lot of external factors conspired, I think, to make this movie uh, crash a lot harder than it deserved to. And I don't know how much of that might have affected the actual filming process itself. I'm sure that, uh, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, the director is making all of these decisions, and the director had just been embroiled in an insane legal drama in her early 20s. Um, even like before her job was for her first job was even really happening. So she probably would have made a different movie too. I mean, who knows how things might have gone. Um, but this movie is difficult, but it is not as bad as I thought it was. And it definitely it deserves another look. If you were someone who, like me, watched it a jillion years ago, um it hits a little differently now. And I gotta say, like, also, like, I mean, I was a very young person at the time, and I mean, this movie it's got this weird sort of ethereal fairy tale quality to it that is very deliberate, and some of that music video quality that I'm talking about is really just a dated expression of that same kind of like slight removal from reality. And to me, going into this at the age of, like 19, it was weird enough that it all felt kind of extreme and kind of silly, and then the dream ending just was the nail in the coffin. But what I didn't understand, because I was so young and I hadn't had the experience with relationships to realize that this movie was building on a very real idea of obsession that people had experienced that I had not. And so I just didn't have the basis to appreciate the parts of the movie that were sort of foundational truth. And that made it much more difficult for me to appreciate the way that it deviated from those foundations. And so coming back to it, you know, at 51, like, it's a very different experience, and I recognize the reality that they are talking about that is sort of turned into this other weird thing that this movie makes it into. Um, I still could have done without 9 minutes of slow motion fountain dancing, but
That was so fucking irritating.
the movie is actually like kind of okay in a lot of other respects. And I think it's possible to appreciate kind of you can appreciate this in a what might have been kind of way, especially if you do like this sort of genre of kind of an offbeat erotic thriller. um I think it's difficult not to understand this movie as a misfire, but it has kind of a lot to offer, and I think that people can enjoy it, and certainly, like, it's there are so many almost great things that this could be mined for a more interesting project, a more successful project.
I won't disagree with that.
Um, I mean, it's better than RoboCop, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
I mean, they're mostly the same movie. I mean, they are both about a main character who gets their arms and legs chopped off, and I think that it's impossible not to appreciate those parallels. And uh, I mean, I'm not saying that this should have like led directly into RoboCop 4. Um, I'm just saying that if you gave Helena super powerful robot arms and legs and put her to work for OCP, then I mean maybe she and Alex Murphy would share a dynamic
No,
that is more fulfilling for both of them
I don't
than
know.
the one we see in Boxing Helena.
If you gave her weird prosthetics, then I think you might start getting into that movie that I've never seen called Body Parts, where somebody loses his bits and then comes back to try and reclaim them or something.
Did that star Jeff Fahey?
See, I've never seen it. I was
I
like 6 years old when the previews were coming out, and I just had nightmares of it for a long time.
I feel strongly that I remember the trailer and that I was excited about the movie, and that then I saw the movie and didn't like it very much.
Well, I
Uh,
wouldn't either. It
but I
sounds
could be
terrible.
misremembering, and I could also be thinking of a completely different movie that I've crossed it with in my head. And but I'm envisioning a poster that just looked like skin with the words body parts sort of like pushed through it almost,
Weird.
maybe. I might be thinking of something else entirely.
Yeah, I don't know.
I had not thought about it in a long time. I feel like I had that poster among the Jillian movie posters that I had cycling through my high school bedroom.
So I'm gonna say real quick that why this movie is better than RoboCop is because at the end of it, Helena got her body parts back, and Alex Murphy did not get his body parts back. He got
That
robot
is
stuff that
true.
jacked his brain up. But hey, I mean, maybe that's Stockholm syndrome again.
The Stockholm syndrome that happened in this movie was another huge pacing issue. It just suddenly was there. I don't know. Like there are many things that almost could work. But yeah, it's we spend so much time looking at things that don't matter and so little time building up what we need to appreciate the things that do matter.
Yeah,
Um,
they got it all wrong.
One thing I did notice that I definitely didn't notice before because when I went through, I watched this movie twice for the recording. When I went through and watched it again, there's at the end he goes he wakes up, he goes through the hospital. We see the nurse getting out of the elevator, who is the woman that he fucked in front of Helena in the dream, which is our first like sort of confirmation that he was kind of pulling from his external reality. He goes up to Helena's room, and he sits by her bed. It's the room is very dark. It's lit only by like a sort of lamp on the stand. He goes over to her bed and he sort of we it's all very tight shots. We don't at first we don't see her limb, so we don't get immediate confirmation that she's okay. And he like picks up her hand and he sort of holds her hand and it's sort of tender. And he starts getting a little more intense and he sort of rubbing her and he starts like caressing his own face with her hand. And he as his intensity increases, the camera it cuts to a shot from above very briefly. And so we see straight down onto the bed. So we see that she does definitely has her legs because we can see them through the blanket. But in that moment, like the camera is like on the ceiling. He kind of looks up, and the shot only exists for like a second, but the light completely changes. The light from the lamp goes away, and it becomes this like streaming bright light from outside through the closed window shade, and above her bed is a massive like crown of flowers, like just this gigantic arch just filling the space where like a headboard, like an ornate headboard would be. And then like he stops and it stops and the light goes back and the camera goes back to normal and it's just all gone. And it's like it's almost like he started like activating that intensity by touching himself with her, began to transport him back to where he shouldn't be. And that's sort of his, like, he kind of drops it like it's hot. Like it's almost like in that moment he understands, like, I can't be around her.
I'm going
Maybe,
to do what I just dreamt about.
right. Does he learn his lesson? Is that what happens at the end of the movie?
I don't think so, but I'd
Like,
like to
he's still
believe it.
haunted. He says he's still haunted by those
Yeah.
dreams, but maybe maybe he actually knows that what that means is stay the fuck away, you lunatic.
That would be a good lesson to take away, but I don't think there is a lesson.
Yeah, so would you recommend this movie to everyone you see as loudly as you can, whether they
Absolutely
want to or
not.
not?
No, no, no. I can't. I mean, it's interesting and I don't know if I'd say fun. It's
It
interesting
no.
and something else, some adjective that doesn't work somewhere along the lines. I'm sure I could find something, and I'd still disagree with myself on it because that adjective doesn't exist. Um, it sure is something.
Isn't it? It yeah. I'm not sorry that I made you watch it.
No,
I I definitely needed to it it had been 30 years and I needed to see it again.
and it's definitely something that one needs to talk about after observing it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that I did in 1993, but I definitely would have just been focusing on the ending really, and not anything that the ending signified. Because like I said, it is essential to look at this movie again. You know, if you didn't know how it ended, it's essential to go back and look at this again because it literally does change everything,
Yeah.
and it matters. And I don't know if that makes the decision suck less, but it it does sort of necessitate going back, which I guess I don't know. Maybe that's the problem because I just didn't want to see it again.
Well, some part of you did, and maybe in 32 years I'll watch it again.
It's yeah, maybe. It it's it is an interesting movie. It is full of very wrong decisions,
Yeah.
and it is
Yeah.
fascinating to watch. I don't know if this would be one of those like crowd pleasing bad movies.
No.
It's I mean
No.
with the right crowd, I guess, but it I mean it really is. It doesn't have that energy. It's it's very like it's so subdued, and it's just and a lot of like sort of unpleasantness between them. Uh here's the only thing I really remembered about this movie going in. Here's the one scene that I remembered with perfect clarity was when he reaches over and pulls an eyelash off of her cheek, and he's like, "Make a wish." And she says, "They never come true." And he says, "Mine has." And in my mind, that was like, that is what this movie is. And it kind of is. And that scene even takes place like it's sandwiched between blackouts. Like it exists in this space entirely on its own. Like it was conceived separately. It didn't matter where it happened as long as it was after she had her arms chopped off. It just it just exists. And it's like this weird moment of kind of gross intimacy. And yeah, that's what I remembered that perfectly. A lot of the rest was jumbled.
Yeah, that it was a very spooky scene. But
It's yeah. It's worth checking out if this sounds, listeners, like thematically it might be up your alley. It is an odd movie, and it is very uneven and intermittently fascinating and sometimes really slow.
most of the time.
It's kind of all over the place. And it's gross. It's about a really gross man who looks like Julian Sands. The late Julian Sands. That's too bad. I liked him. Not just because of this movie.
Yeah, he was entertaining.
So what are we doing next time, Ted?
I don't know. You ever seen the movie Ravenous?
Long time ago. You're talking about the sort of Donner Party-ish sort of thing, right? Yeah. I remember that I liked it, but I don't remember much about it. Did that have Robert Carlyle
I don't know what that is.
and maybe Guy Pearce?
I know that name. I know that it had I don't know, but I believe it had the child pornography got arrested for principal from
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah.
He's from
in it,
the dad from Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was in that.
No, I'm thinking of a different one.
Ferris he's the no, that's him. Child pornography guy. That's him.
Okay.
You know the one.
Yeah,
you know the one who loves the child pornography.
Yeah, and the overlord of the universe from Howard the Duck.
Yes, yeah, that's him. Yeah, Jeffrey Jones. He's also in Deadwood.
And then there's Christian Slater and what's her name in True Love. What the fuck is that movie? It was
True Romance.
True Romance. What's her name?
Patricia Arquette.
Yeah, her brother is in it.
Oh, David Arquette, the most adorable boy in the world from Scream and Scream 2 and Scream 3 and Scream 4 and Scream 5. I totally forgot he was in that.
Yeah, he's definitely in it. I've only seen this movie once when I was like 17 years old.
I could lure Bill into watching it with David Arquette, but then he would immediately check out with the other things.
It's great, and if I remember right, it gets better and better and better as it goes along. To the point of like, wow, I thought it was ridiculous half the movie ago, and now I am loving every second of it.
Okay. All right. Is it better than Cannibal the Musical?
I don't know, but we could film us watching that and maybe something else and have like a series.
I mean, we already did Fresh.
I know. It would be...
We could combine them into a playlist at least. I feel like, didn't we accidentally do something else about cannibalism right around the same time? I feel like
I don't know. We definitely started out pretty close to Cannibal Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel like we ended up, maybe we just talked about cannibalism a lot under unrelated titles. That seems entirely possible too.
And it comes up a lot. We're probably getting close to running out of time on
All
this
right.
one.
Well, let's commit to looking into Ravenous.
Yes.
And then we'll see what happens. Boxing Helena, you're welcome.
Thank you, I guess.
You're so glad that you watched it. And I love you, Ted.
Love you too, Matt.
And we will be back as probably sooner than we were last time.
Absolutely.
Have an excellent night.
You as well.
The depot devoid is that place your mind goes when you've lost your train of thought, but you haven't found a new one. The Depot Devoid podcast is hosted by Matt Fagan and Ted Fagan. Depot Devoid is not hosted by Ian Fagan because he died and we miss him. Find our full video episodes at Depot Devoid Podcast on YouTube. On social media, you can find us at Depot Devoid Podcast on Blue Sky, and for now, still on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can email us at depotdevoidpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can listen to the show on all of your favorite podcast platforms.